You find yourself on a narrow, winding road, the car's headlights cutting through the darkness that seems to swallow everything around you. The trees loom high on either side, ancient sentinels of the night, their gnarled branches swaying ever so slightly with an unseen breeze. The few scattered clouds lazily drift across the moon, casting fleeting shadows that dance at the periphery of your vision, teasing you with the thought of movement in the corners of the world outside your car. As you drive deeper into the woods, a sense of isolation grips you, a chill that seeps not just into your bones, but into your very thoughts. It's as if the forest is alive, breathing alongside you, whispering secrets just beyond your grasp. You remind yourself that this is exactly what you wanted: a break from the clamor of your everyday life, an escape from the relentless buzz of city sounds and obligations. You longed for solitude, and these woods promised it in abundance. After what feels like an eternity, you reach a clearing. There, nestled among the thickening trees, stands an old cabin, its wooden walls weathered by time and the elements. The roof sags gently, adorned with patches of moss that give it an almost mystical quality. You park the car and step out, the crunch of gravel beneath your boots echoing in the profound stillness surrounding you. The air is crisp, filled with the scent of pine and damp earth, an invigorating reminder of life away from overbearing city lights. You haul your bags from the trunk, feeling the weight of your anticipation and nervousness alike. After all, this place has been vacant for years, owned by a distant relative you barely knew. You're aware of the stories that were told about it, whispers of something unsettling that once transpired here. But tonight, those tales feel far away, hidden behind the monumental trees that guard this secluded spot. Stepping over the threshold of the cabin, you're greeted by the musty smell of forgotten memories. Dust motes float lazily in the beams of moonlight, filtering through the grimy windows. The interior is simple, with rustic furniture and a stone fireplace that bears the remnants of past fires, the darkened stones still warm from ghosts of flames that once danced within. You set your things down and take a moment to let the solitude wash over you, the tranquility coaxing away the remnants of anxiety that cling to you. As the days pass, you settle into a routine. Mornings are spent sipping coffee on the porch, the world around you waking slowly, birdsong filling the air with a gentle lullaby. You hike the untouched trails, exploring the sprawling nature surrounding you. The usual hum of everyday life feels 1,000 miles away, and you relish the peace, though there is an odd sense of disquiet lurking at the edges of your bliss. On the third day, while rummaging through the cabin for firewood, you discover a trapdoor beneath a thick, tattered rug. It is partially ajar, as if inviting you in, yet warning you at the same time. Heart thudding in your chest, you crouch down and peer inside. Darkness gapes back at you, an inky void that seems to pull at the edges of your curiosity. You hesitate, thought patterns swirling. Something about the way the wood creaks under your touch gives you the feeling that this place is more alive than you'd first assumed. You decide to leave it closed for now, but the trapdoor occupies your mind. Each evening, as you wind down with a book and the crackle of the fire, you find your gaze drifting towards it. Its presence gnaws at the corners of your thoughts, feeling increasingly like an uninvited guest in your otherwise peaceful retreat. One night, unable to shake the pull of that dark space below, you grab a flashlight and head towards the trapdoor. The wood creaks against your weight as you kneel before it. You can't ignore the way the darkness beneath it hums with an energy that is both alluring and forbidding. Drawing in a deep breath, you reach for the handle and pull the door open. A rush of cold air envelops you, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and decay. The beam from your flashlight breaks the darkness, illuminating an even more decrepit stairway leading down into the unknown. Your heart races, and for a moment you reconsider. Was this really a good idea? But then you think of the isolation of this place and how vibrant your imagination can be at night. Surely you're just being foolish. You descend slowly, each step creaking beneath your weight. The stairs twist and turn, seemingly leading further into a cave of shadows that stretches far beyond the confines of the cabin above. You notice the walls are damp, with patches of earth and ancient roots creeping from cracks. The flashlight beam flickers and your pulse quickens. Unnerved, you remind yourself to breathe, to steady your thoughts. Reaching the bottom, your light reveals a small, cramped room, the walls lined with what looks like old, dusty shelving filled with jars. You step closer, your curiosity piqued, despite the unsettling feeling that creeps along your spine like a spider's legs across bare skin. The shelves groan gently, as if holding long-forgotten secrets, each jar filled with murky liquid that prevents you from discerning their contents. Some appear to have labels, but they're too faded to read. Against better judgment, you pick one up, a jar that feels strangely heavy in your hands. A chill runs through you as you notice something moving inside, a grotesque shape pulsating against the glass. You stagger back, nearly dropping it, and it shatters on the ground, liquid splattering against your ankles. You recoil, unable to comprehend what you just witnessed. The thing inside had been alive. Shaken, you scramble back up the stairs, nearly tripping over your feet in your haste to escape. As you slam the trapdoor shut behind you, you can't shake the feeling that the air has changed, thickening with an oppressive energy that weighs on your chest. You can't pretend that nothing happened. The haunting image of the jar and whatever resided within has etched itself into your mind. That night, the cabin feels different, less like a sanctuary and more like a cage. Each creaking sound of the building settling around you feels like a whisper, as if the very walls are conspiring to hold you there. The shadows seem to shift, teetering at the brink of your vision, and the silence stretches on for too long, pervaded only by the sound of your own heartbeat. Days blur into one another. You try to go about your routine, but the unsettling discovery gnaws at you, growing into a persistent thrum of anxiety. You avoid the trapdoor, focusing instead on the world around you, the vibrant trees, the sun-drenched paths. Yet even those things, once beautiful in their solitude, begin to lose their luster. You feel watched, tracked by unseen eyes lurking behind the dense foliage. One evening, you stand outside, staring into the darkening woods. A shiver runs through you, and you wrap your arms around yourself. The chirping of the crickets seems to fade, replaced by an unsettling silence. You feel the need to return to the trapdoor pulsing in you, a strange compulsion that's more potent than fear. Compelled by the shadow of the unseen, you venture back down the stairs. The air grows colder with each step, wrapping around you like a shroud. You find your heart racing not out of trepidation, but out of an oddly intoxicating thrill. What were you about to find? Though part of you warns that some things were best left unearthed, the other part is mad with curiosity. Once at the bottom, you stand in front of the shelves, each jar feeling like a herald of a grim truth. You take a deep breath and reach for another jar, its contents swirling lethargically. You stand transfixed, limbs heavy, as it dawns on you that your energy seems tied to these objects. The thought terrifies you. Suddenly, you feel it, a presence behind you, a weight in the air that should not be there. You turn quickly, but the darkness is still, save for the dim glow of your flashlight. Heart racing, you spin back to the jar. This time, you hear a whisper, faint yet tangible, echoing through the air, a wailing without sound that reverberates through your very bones. Your resolve fractures. In a panic, you stumble backward, and in your haste, you knock over jars, their glass shattering on the cold earth. The whispers grow louder, filling the air with a cacophony of desperate cries, drawing closer as if the contents within were yearning to escape. You feel drawn, mesmerized as you watch the escaping shadows coil together, twisting in an eldritch dance. Adrenaline surges, and you flee, racing up the steps. You throw the trapdoor shut, the noise reverberating through the cabin, an explosion of chaos in the silence. You lean against the door, panting, your heart threatening to burst out of your chest. But even as you pull yourself together, a terrible realization crawls up your spine. The whispers have not ceased. They thrummed louder even through the closed door, insistent, potent, as if they were gathering strength. You lock the door and whirl around the cabin, frantically searching for a means of escape. An urge builds within you. What if you left? What if you ventured far into the woods, away from the cabin and its sinister call? But the moment you consider that, an unfathomable dread washes over you, as if a great, unseen force would not allow you to leave. The trees, the woods, the very ground beneath you feel conspiring, shifting as your terror grows. The sun dips below the horizon, and your final vestiges of comfort are washed away by the shadows that settle across your shelter. The walls pulse with energy, each thump resonating in your chest. You can feel something watching you. It clings to the edge of your perception, that cold weight, like a fog creeping through the cracks of your sanity. On your last night, you stare at the fireplace, wondering what had tempted you to stay longer, what had convinced you that you would find rest within this chilling embrace. As the dark encroaches, the whispers intensify, swirling and wrenching your thoughts. You clutch your head, trying to drown it out, as shadows stretch and unfurl across the room, striving to claim you. But the truth dawns too late. You cannot escape what you've awakened. You can feel it closing in, the very presence of the cabin, an entity that has grown stronger with your every reluctant encounter. You grip the edge of the table, panic surging as the whispers become a roar, a chaotic frenzy that wraps around your mind like a vice. The last flicker of your lantern expels a faint glow, illuminating fleeting glimpses of movement in the corners of your vision, shapes gathering, creeping toward you. You know there's no escape now. The entity has burrowed into your thoughts, and as the whispers crescendo into an almost deafening cacophony, you scream, desperate for release, though no sound reaches beyond the wood-clad walls of your isolated prison. And when morning comes, the cabin stands silent once more. The clearing is serene, the trees swaying gently with the breeze, as if nothing had happened. The trapdoor lies closed, a grave over the secrets that simmer beneath. Farther up the winding road, a forgotten car sits idling, the headlights dimmed in the thickening fog. Perhaps it was never meant to leave. Perhaps it never will.